What's up, you guys? Here we are, Patreon services day 2. Today we're going to work on the posterior chain. The last session we worked on anterior chain, front side of the body. Today we're going to work on back side of the body. That's what posterior chain is. So you'll notice this theme. We're going to go back and forth with certain areas, front side, back side, front side, back side. That's just a way that you can work on your body consistently without having any sort of contradictory days, right? So if your front side has really worked or possibly tired and fatigued, you go to the next day and you do the back side so that you don't overwork the front side of your body. So that's kind of the theme that we're going to be working with throughout the course of these sessions. So last Thursday, we went anterior chain. Today, posterior chain. So there's a lot of tissue that runs along the back side of your body, right? We have the calves, the hamstrings, the glutes, all the spinal erectors, everything on your back, your rhomboids, your traps, rear deltoids, neck flexors. We can only get to so much within this one session, right? So you'll notice over the course of these sessions that we will get to nearly everything, but we won't get to everything within each session. So bear with me. If you have an issue on possibly the neck, then eventually we'll get to the neck. But today we're going to get into hamstrings and glutes, okay? These muscles on the back side of our lower body. So that leads off into hamstrings. Okay, so what you're going to need is some sort of tool, some sort of softball-sized ball. I have this double ball here as well. You could also use smaller balls as well. I find that the bigger ball works a little bit better. Now, if you only have a foam roller, the foam roller could work as well, and I'll show you different variations of what we're going to work with here today. Now, for the hamstrings, you'll also want to do this on an elevated surface. Some sort of chair, some sort of bench, something like that that you could actually sit on and then hang your leg off the side. Okay, so you can see that I could put my knee on the edge of the bench here and then I could end up bending and straightening my leg because that's exactly what I'm going to do when I place the ball there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my supernova here right in the middle of my hamstring complex. Okay, now I can spend honestly about like 10 minutes per hamstring complex because it's such a long tissue that I could spend a lot of time there, and I'm also very tight in the hamstrings. Now, I'm going to just, for the sake of time, recommend that we get right into the middle of the hamstring complex. So you'll see right there, right in the middle of the back side of my leg. You can see I'm compressing that tissue there. It's also lifted my knee a little bit higher, so I have this full range of this leg now. Now, the wider your knees go, the more open the tissue gets as well. And from here, what we're going to do for a minute, 1 minute exactly, start timing right now, is we're going to do a little bit of just gentle side-to-side wavering motion with the leg. And what I'm doing here is just massaging deeper and deeper into the tissue. And as I spoke of last time, we're trying to breathe here. We're trying to relax. I'm trying to exhale and let my body calm itself as I'm on top of the ball here. Now you'll also find maybe, and this is the case for me, if I move my leg in and the ball moves to the outside of the bottom of my leg there, I get this really tight and tender spot. That's right where the sciatic nerve goes through the hamstring. Okay, so sometimes if you have a back issue, the problem will be in your back or in your glutes, but you'll feel a radiating pain down the outside of your leg because that's the same nerve being affected. So point is that there's certain areas that are going to be more tender. Maybe it's more medial here on the inside of the leg, and maybe it's more lateral here on the outside of the leg. So just notice how that works for yourself. Now that was actually about 1:20, so a little over. Now for the next minute, I'm going to do a contract and relax method for the hamstring. And what that looks like is I'm going to extend my leg completely straight. I'm contracting my quad here and lengthening the hamstring. That helps open the hamstring as I do that. And then the contraction of the hamstring comes when I pull my heel down. And I'm actually pulling my leg into the bench, so you could, if you're at home, you could push your heel into the ground or into the chair or the couch or wherever you are, so that you contract the muscle that the ball is under. and then I relax. Extend and open. Contract. Squeeze that hamstring, flex it, relax. And you'll just do that contracting part for 5 to 10 seconds. Now I'm going to do this for the next minute. I've already gone about 45 seconds, so I'll do a couple more. And just remember, you guys, you're trying to do this along with me. So obviously there's going to be some delay, right? Like you might have to set up a bench. I already knew what I was doing here. You might have to grab your balls. Press pause, but then once you're all set, just get back to where I am and try to do things at the same tempo that I'm doing them. Now there's a whole lot to discuss and why exactly hamstrings are tight in general. So we'll do that as soon as I switch sides. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to switch sides. I'll also show you, just for the sake of variety, I'll do my other side with a roller, because a lot of us have rollers and some of us don't have balls. So what you can do is put your leg on top of the roller, just like you just did with the ball. Now this is plenty fantastic for my hamstring. My hamstring's pretty tight. And you could also lean forward to put more weight on it if you feel like the device that you're using is not getting deep enough into the tissue. That's totally cool with me. So now, as I said earlier, we're going to start by doing side to side. So I'm going to do that for about a minute. And as I said earlier, let's talk about why the hamstrings are tight in general. When we're sitting, as I am right now, my knee, right here, this joint, this guy, we all know what a knee is closed. Okay? My knee is open, and here my knee is closed. When my knee is closed like that, in this angle, right now I'm at about a right angle, my hamstring shortens. When your knee closes, your hamstring will then shorten. So that's what my hamstring is doing right now. Now we all spend a ton of time sitting in chairs, on couches, on the floor, wherever you're sitting, your hamstrings are likely closed. Okay? So our hamstrings get locked down because we're closed in these positions for a long period of time. They just get used to being short and stuck there. And that's really common. It's common for all of us. So it's really important that if you don't want knee, hip, or back issues, that we then lengthen your hamstrings back to their normal length and give them the normal capacity to be able to exercise or do whatever you want to do without having pain. I'm going to move on to the contract relax method now. Opening the knee, contracting quad, close the knee, pull the heel in, contract hamstring, relax. Overall, per hamstring location, I'm spending around 2 to 3 minutes. The idea behind the contract relax method is that when you contract the muscle, you're consciously, and that means using your brain to control the muscle's contraction. And then because we're using this device to add pressure as we're creating that contraction, what we're doing is we're interrupting the way the brain over-signals the muscle. Over-signaling means tightness in the muscle. So when we do this contract relax consciously, again, we're trying to teach our brains to not be overly tight in a particular location. So yeah, you could just sit here and roll around a little bit, but you want to get your brain involved by doing the contract and relax. Okay? So that's about it for the hamstrings. I'm going to move these off to the side. And now we're going to do a hamstring stretch. So when we roll the muscle, we're releasing it back to its normal length. And then when you stretch immediately after, you have much more capacity to then get deeper into the stretch because you've let all the knots out of the muscle that were in there before. So you can go and stretch without rolling, but stretching without rolling is like trying to take a knot out of a towel without untying the knot in the towel. You'd be pulling on that towel with the knot still in it. So the rolling unties the knot, the stretching then lengthens the towel back to its normal length. Same thing with the muscles, generally. Now, as I said, we're going to try to stretch the hamstring now. Now, this is called a half split position, and this in itself I mean, for me, because I have pretty tight hamstrings, just being tall like this, I get a good stretch all the way down through my calves and into my heel. Now, you may need a little bit of support. You can use a yoga block, your roller. You can have a bench beside you. Okay, whatever you need for a little bit of support to then be able to slowly bring your chest down. Okay, now I'm not going to work in this position, but I am going to gently floss. And by floss, I mean going down and up for 2 minutes. And with each time I go down and up, really gently, I'm trying to lengthen more and more, go lower and lower in the stretch and the position. Now, also something to consider as you're doing this is you don't want to be extremely relaxed. So I can go much lower in the stretch. You can see I can go quite low when I round my back. But I'm trying to stay somewhat tall in my spine to then hinge forward. And what that is doing is keeping my body engaged as I go through the stretch, rather than relaxed and passive. To gain true range of motion, mobility rather than flexibility, it means being active. Active throughout the activity of stretching. There is a time and place for flexibility, but when you're pre-workout like we are right now, to warm the body, it's important to be active, right? So the same thing goes for when you're in stretching. So I'm going to say I did that for about 2 minutes. If you want to go a little bit longer, you may. Now I'm going to switch sides. And now, make sure you have something to put your knee on here, right, for the pad. That might be a little bit tough on the knee. And also, if you need to create some sort of situation that's a little bit more comfortable for you, maybe your knee isn't totally straight, okay? Or maybe you just prefer to sit down like this. I'm okay with that. That's totally fine. And then the same thing goes. You would keep your chest upright. You would lean forward, not rounding the back or becoming relaxed. Okay? This is good for the hamstring. It's just not quite as good because you get some hip stuff going on here. But whatever's appropriate for you, that's definitely what you should choose. So I'll go back to the half split. And I'm going to do about 10 reps. Just for the sake of thinking that's about a minute or so. As I said earlier, you want to do about 2 minutes per side for the stretch. 2 minutes per side for the stretch. Okay. Now with the stretching, the only thing I'm going to advise for the breathing is just, again, staying relaxed and trying to breathe in and out of your nose if you can. Nostril breathing is a really good way to keep yourself regulated, not hyper-excitable. And with stretching, even though it's active, it can still be beneficial to stay calm, stay relaxed, and just allow your body to open itself as you go along the stretching motion. Okay, I'm going to say that's about 2 minutes on that side now. Now, we did the hamstrings. We got both sides done there. And now we're going to move up into the glutes a little bit. And as far as, the order in which you approach your muscles, I typically like to go ground up. So that's why I did hamstrings then glutes. Okay, that's the way I like to work. You could always do glutes and hamstrings. See how that works for you. That's okay too. Now, for the glute, you're going to want some sort of single ball. Now, sometimes you can use a smaller ball. It can work. The larger ball just gets into the tissue a little bit better. You can also use a foam roller as well, which I will show you as well. Now, the glute, and more specifically the piriformis, as I said earlier, talking about the sciatic nerve as it goes through the hamstring, the piriformis, which is in the glutes, encapsulates the sciatic. So a lot of people with sciatic issues, sciatica as it's known, is just because that muscle is tight and pinching down on the nerve. So this one right here is like the quickest way to relieve that muscle and therefore relieve the nerve pain that you could be experiencing radiating down your leg. So what that looks like is you're going to put one cheek on a ball, whatever one you're focusing on, and then I'm going to put that same leg, okay, so I'm in my right glute right now, I'm going to put that same foot on my other knee. Now that may not be as easy as I made it look for many of you, and that's okay. I'll show you variations to be able to make it tolerable. Now, as far as what I'm searching for in the glute, is you're searching for the area that is most uncomfortable. Okay, the area that you're finding some sort of radiating pain or discomfort down the leg. Now remember, the pain is not a bad thing for our purposes. The pain for our purposes is actually a good thing. That means that you're in an area that's tight and where the tissue is not as healthy as it could be. The more you do this, the more you'll notice that the pain actually begins to go away. The pain will relieve itself. I'm on here, experiencing some pain for sure, but you may be on here just like, oh my God, this is too gnarly, I can't do it. In which case you would do something not as painful, which is what I'm about to show you. Now, in total, we're going to be on this glute for about 3 minutes. In a minute or so, I'm going to do a contract, relax, and you can follow me. Another limiting factor here, you guys, is that the arms and shoulders can get tired. So I'm going to show you an easier version. Okay. Now, if this was too painful or the shoulders get tired, you're going to lay on your back. You're going to put the ball under the glute. Then you're going to put the same side on the other knee, the same ankle and foot on the other knee, and I'm exposing that piriformis just like I was earlier. So I have the ball under that glute. Now I'm just laying on my back. So it's actually quite nice. It's a little bit more relaxing. If you wanted to do something like this before bed, it could be quite nice and relaxing as well. Now, for either position, whether you're on your hands or where you're on your back, we're now going to contract and relax. Now, what that looks like for this position is I'm going to push this knee down towards the ground, staying in this situation. And what that does is contract the glute on top of the ball. So I'm going to take a big breath in, push the knee down. You don't see much, but I'm contracting this glute. And now exhale, relax. I'm no longer pushing this knee down. Take a big breath in. Contract. Feel that glute flexing on top of the ball. Exhale, relax. We're doing this for about a minute, so I'll do 2 or 3 more. Really try to pay attention to the sensation you're experiencing in the glute. Really try to feel what's going on there. Pain is not something to be avoided all the time. Sometimes yes, and sometimes we should be searching for it to be able to relieve it. Stop contracting. Okay, so now I'm going to switch sides. And I'm going to show you what it looks like with the roller. This is definitely a much more tolerable device to use for the glute. Some days, if you're after a workout and your glutes are really sore or something like that, you've done some lunges, the roller could be completely appropriate for what you need because you could be sore there. So now I'm on my left glute. My left ankle is on my right knee. Okay, I'm actually just on my left hand as well. On the previous side, you saw me on both hands. Now you can go on just one hand, like I have here. You can even go down to this elbow. And that just changes your position, your orientation on top of the roller. So I'm going to breathe and relax here for a minute or so. In my opinion, doing the glutes is one of the most enjoyable areas to roll and stretch for whatever reason, it just feels nice to me, even though there could be some pain, some different kind of sensation that may not feel good. There's a part of my body that knows this is something I should be doing, and as I'm doing it, some pain, but that deeper sensation of, wow, this is really opening me up. I'm really feeling relaxed as I do this. I really feel good. I'm getting endorphins as I do it. There's this good sensation that comes along with doing the rolling techniques. Okay, so now I'm going to begin to do the contract relax. Take a big breath in. Push this knee down. Contracting that left glute. Exhale, relax. Big breath in. Push. And relax. I'm going to do 2 more. Push. Relax. 1 more. And relax. All right. So now I'm evened out as far as the rolling goes. Just really quickly, I want to talk to you guys about why the glutes get tight. Similar to the hamstrings earlier, I said that when you're seated, your hamstrings are closed and locked. When your glutes get tight, it's typically because we sit on them. So if you have constant pressure via chair, couch, bed, ground, whatever, when you have constant pressure going into the glutes and you're not exercising properly often, essentially they'll just stop knowing how to activate and work properly. So that when you do go and stand up, my glutes are no longer activated and working, and then that's how low back issues arise, hip issues arise, because the tissue there is no longer supporting my pelvis as it's supposed to, and also my lumbar spine. So sitting on the glutes, not good for the glutes. So now, just as we rolled the hamstrings earlier, we stretched them right after. Now we're going to stretch the glutes, okay? And we're going to do that in pigeon position, which is something that is commonly done in yoga classes. Now, we're going to be really active as we do this, as I said earlier with the hamstrings. You don't want to be really passive as you go about this stretch. So the way I like to guide people into it is you put your hands down on the ground and you have your legs back behind you, and you can go into a plank position where I take my knees off the ground, and then I'm going to step one knee towards the same wrist and put the other foot towards the other hand. So the knee went towards this, my right knee went towards my right hand, my right foot went towards my left hand, okay? Right, left, right. I do know my sides. Now, in a typical pigeon, maybe yoga class, you would just relax down here, be really passive. For our purposes, in being active and warming our bodies for our next part of the workout, is I'm going to keep my hands pressing into the ground. I'm going to keep my chest nice and upright. Now I'm also, watch this, I'm going to shove my hips forward. So I'm not open, but I'm pushing my hips forward here. So everything is locked into my right glute. Okay? Now, as I said, stay locked, stay active for about 2 minutes. I'm breathing in and out of my nose, deeply into my stomach. You're doing this with me, so I hope you're here in this stretch. I'm not doing this just for my health. I'm doing this for you guys too. I want you to do it. So get into it. Notice what sensations you're noticing. My body's getting quite warm now. Wonder how yours is doing. I'm going to do about another minute. If you ever feel any sort of tingling sensation, possibly your toes going a little bit tingly, or your knee is uncomfortable in this position, you could always shift a little bit, maybe shift out with your hips. You could always slide this foot closer to your body Okay? Remember, your position is going to look totally different from mine. Okay? I've been practicing these things for a while, so adjust as you need to. And just remember, the main goal of this is just trying to stretch this glute. Okay? So that's the sensation that you're looking for. So you play with it in the directions and movements that feel appropriate for you. Okay, that's 2 minutes. Let's do the other side. You can shake your arms out if you need to, if they're getting tired. Go back into plank, knees off the ground. My left knee is going to go towards my left hand, my left foot going towards my right wrist. My back knee is on the ground. Okay, chest is nice and upright. Here we are again. This is the last position for the mobility series. So get comfortable, enjoy it, take some big breaths. I'm shoving my hips forward. I'm pulling my chest up nice and tall. I'm breathing deeply into my stomach, in and out of my nose. One thing to consider, you guys, as well is after you complete the mobility series, depending on what you're doing right after, how are you feeling? Give yourself a little assessment. Check in with your body. Stand up, move around, walk a little bit, go up and down a couple stairs, sit on and off a chair a couple times. Notice the benefits you're experiencing from this. We're not doing it to not get any benefit, right? We're doing this to experience something beneficial in your body. And I want you to notice that. So test it. Get up, move around, and see how your body feels. I know for me, the more I do it, the better I feel, right? So, if you come across this video or this stretch, and you're like, oh man, that glute stretch, the pigeon one that I was doing the other day, that was really nice. I really love that one. Maybe I should try it before bed. Or maybe I want to implement that into my nightly routine right before I get into bed. Please do so. Use these whenever you want, whenever you feel appropriate. Now, the programming here is meant to be in a specific order for the sake of preparing yourself for what comes next. So if you're doing this mobility basically series and then going into the activation drills after this video, then these are programmed for those exercises and so on into the third video and third tier as well. So that's why I've programmed these the way they are. But if you're not doing those videos or those series after, then again, check in with yourself and see how you feel. Now that was 2 minutes. So we're about to move on to tier 2, activation and core drills. If you're not moving along, enjoy these, and I will see you guys next Thursday, or this Thursday coming up. And I hope you're doing all right. Enjoy.